do we get it?
My timing and scoring shows 0.000.
There's no way.
I don't get it. I don't know how they explain this one.
It was the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history. Todd and I will break it all down next. Welcome into a new episode of NASCAR Inside the Race, presented by our friends at Consumer Cellular. Todd, the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history a week ago at Kansas. What did you make of the overall race and that crazy finish?
Phenomenal. I thought it was spectacular racing. Stage one, the swapping back and forth, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson. We saw Denny come forward. We saw guys come from the back. We saw long run speed. We saw guys on the bottom, guys on the top. I thought it was the best race of the year.
So we're going to get into the strategy of 2 versus 4 tires. We're going to get into the call of who won the race and how the photo finish basically is decided. But let's talk about, in my opinion, how the race was won. And that actually goes back to a late yellow. Kyle Busch spins out, brings out the yellow. The field comes to pit road. The front half takes 2. Some other guys take 4. Let's focus on Kyle Larson. He passes the 11 of Denny Hamlin on the restart, and that turns into this battle between the 5 and the 17. Let's look at the restart. Tell me what you see on board with the 5.
I didn't see anything. I just saw, he made a great shift, had great power, made an aggressive move to the bottom. He didn't lay back or anything. He's right there with him, pushing him as he comes to the restart zone. Both got a good launch. He just made a really good shift here, an aggressive move to the bottom, got him inside the 11.
I thought there was going to be more. I thought we were going to see the 5 roll up or maybe a shove from behind with Blaney, but that's really not the case, right? If we go a little bit wider and we go on to the broadcast view, you see Hamlin inside, Buescher outside, Larson, Elliott behind him, Blaney. That's actually where I thought the help came from, was Blaney.
And I looked at this, and when you watch this, I feel like Hendrick Power here, because the 9 car pushes the 17 out to the lead, and the 5 makes a move on the shift and down to the inside 11.
Now, the unfortunate part for Denny Hamlin, who was leading the race before the yellow came out, although he was managing fuel, as soon as he goes 3 wide in the middle right here, the 11 of Denny Hamlin just doesn't have a chance. He goes from offense to defensive. Now he's full in the mirror, trying to just not lose any more spots.
Yeah, a tough situation for him there. But I thought at that point where we got to, the 17 had cleared the 5.
Well, so then it comes down really to a 2-car race. Maybe the 19 has a shot. We'll get into that a little bit later on the 4 tires. But let's take a look at this. Upper left, the 17 of Chris Buescher. Upper right, 5 of Kyle Larson in row 2. At the bottom, we see broadcast. So we're going to see the restart, which we just showed again. This is what's going to get the 5 out front with the 17 and really turn it into a 5 versus 17 battle.
Yeah, definitely got here. And you look at the 5 got inside. Really, I thought entering that low, wrapping the bottom, did a good job. 17 had the momentum from up top. He got him just clear. And that, at this point, I thought it's the 17's race to lose.
Yeah, so I'll actually go one further that I think the 9, in my mind, the 9 right here has a chance. He's the top car. And the reason is if he can get to the outside of the 5, running the top, you have so much more exit speed, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
as I play it forward, this move by the 5 to get clear up in front of the 9, as you go back up to the onboard, you see right here, he's all the way to the wall. Now the 9 can't turn left because he has 11 to the inside.
Yes.
He forces him to push the 5, which is what he does, and that kind of keeps the 5 momentum chasing the 17. So much so, he turns to the bottom. The 17 now has to put on a good block.
And I thought it was a great block. A big arc into the corner. Looked like the 5 car was going to the bottom. And Buescher says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get to the bottom. I thought created the separation here that won him the race.
I want you to remember that bottom situation in 3 and 4 because we're going to be back there in just one more lap. Now we're coming to take the white flag. I mentioned the 19, him 9 and the 11 are 3 wide behind. Now it's decision time for the 17 and the 5. The 17 goes in, runs the bottom of the racetrack. The 5 runs the top. No blocking, no anything. The 2 lanes they think will work the best.
Yeah, the 17 wrapped the bottom pretty well. The 5 made momentum driving down the hill and got a big draft on him, toe on him here in the backstretch.
You know, I say this a lot. I would win a lot of races on Monday. So when we analyze these finishes and we're critical on drivers, we're critical with all the information. You know, these drivers are using the information on the fly. Mm-hmm. And they're all uber talented, but when we talk about experience, hey, what makes an experienced driver more successful or more advantageous for a team than inexperienced? It's being in these situations.
Yes.
Chris Buescher right here, zigs and zags down the backstretch to break the draft. I love that. I think in his own opinion of this, I would love to know, was he entering turn 3 where he thought his car was the best, or is he defending? Because I feel like he ended up a little bit in no man's land.
I do too. I think there's a couple things, if you pause it here, there's a couple things that can be going on here. I think Chris may have entered kind of in the middle, anticipating whether Kyle Larson was going to wrap the bottom or not, and thinking he could slide up in front of Kyle.
Because the 5 just ran the bottom the last time we were down here.
Right, and if that's the case, I think he's late to the block, and Kyle Larson drove this thing past everybody to get up to the quarter panel and up to the top. It's really impressive how much speed Kyle Larson rolled into here. I don't know if it was a plan to come up and block him, or whether Chris Buescher's thinking, I want the 5 car. If he's going to be beside me, I want him on the outside of me, pinned up against the wall in turn 4.
Yeah, maybe the 17 is exactly where he should be. Maybe just Kyle Larson makes a more impressive move. His entry speed here, I want you to really focus on this up here. If you look at the amount of area he has from that right front to the wall as he rolls off into the corner, another way to look at it is on the bottom. It is so tough to judge that entry speed. Gets right up to the side of the 17. And now to your point, you think the 17, let's take a look. He is thinking, remember the start-finish line's up there. He is going to go down this way, straight shot to the bottom, to the apron, and get away from the 5.
Yeah, and he's actually, you would expect him to try to get all the way down here to the grass, just to get himself away from the 5 and go there. And I think at this point right now, where you're looking at, the 5's got this little advantage.
Yep.
But the error right here, off of this windshield, is dumping straight onto that spoiler and slowing him down.
Right, so if I hit play, and you're going to see the 17's going to try to kind of turn left, and it works. The difference is, look at the 5. The 5 knows where he's going, and he's chasing him down there because he wants to get back onto that side draft.
The 17 got the 5 where he wanted him. The 5 knew that he was where the 17 wanted him, and he was already making the move down the hill before the 17 peeled off of him.
And the whole time, the 19 and the 9 are back here. They're just hoping they have enough momentum. They just want to see these two beat and bang a little bit more, which they get a little fortunate because there is some beating and banging. Look at this right here. So much contact that the 17 leaves tires marks.
Yes.
He gets hit so hard that he leaves rear tire marks. That has to hurt the momentum of the 17.
And I think the piece that you look at here, I don't think Kyle Larson intended to door him and hit him that hard. I think Kyle Larson felt that the 17 was going to go all the way down to the grass to get away from him. At this point here, the 5 feels like the 17 is going to continue down to here.
Right.
So I need to be right there with him.
Yeah, I'm going to follow him down there.
But the problem is the 17 didn't go that low, and that caused the contact. Really impressive run.
Yeah, in the end, what's that look like? Well, it looks like the closest finish in NASCAR history. 1/1000th of a second on the apron. Just a full day of great racing. The drivers, I can't give them enough credit. I know we come on here and we talk about what they could have done different. There were moments on restarts all day long. One time there was 5 wide down the front stretch. What these drivers do.
Chris Buescher threaded the needle for that 5 wide. That's what put him in a position to get forward. A phenomenal move up the middle.
Yeah, it was great racing. For Ford Motor Company, my heart bleeds a little bit. Chris Buescher second in the closest finish in Cup Series history. Blaney second by a couple thousandths of a second at Atlanta. We had another close finish at Richmond, another close finish at Talladega. They have 6 seconds, 4 of which, if you totaled it up, would be less than a half a second.
Yeah, they've been close. They've been close. And I think something for them to kind of build forward on what they can do this year.
Well, that was an overall look at just how the race was won. But up next, we're going to break down exactly how the photo finish occurred and how NASCAR broke down who the winner was.
Hey guys, I'm Corey LaJoy, driver of the number 7 car, joined my buddy Ryan Flores. Every week we stack some pennies. Talk about NASCAR Cup Series right out of my windshield.
Plus, we'll give out the dogs of the week for the best pit crews and pit crew guys from the weekend. We'll break down all the money stops, all the woes, get into some technical issues, and we'll also answer all of your hashtag Penny for Your Thoughts questions.
And we have a ton of guests. Sometimes SVG pops by. We got Raja. We have all sorts of guys. You never know who's going to pop in the Nonsense Garage, but make sure you tune in. SiriusXM on Tuesdays, YouTube on Wednesdays, wherever you find your podcast on Wednesdays as well. Come stack pennies with us.
Larson won, but what's going to be talked about more than the winner is how the winner was determined. It was the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series racing history. Let's remind everybody how it happened. Green-white checker. This is coming into the checker. Larson climbs the banking. He gets to the outside of the 17. They beat and bang coming to the line. Truly an amazing finish.
Oh, it was. One for the ages here, and really to look at it, none of us knew who won at this point. It was chaos in trying to sort it out, and a challenge for NASCAR as well.
Challenge for NASCAR. Our friends at Fox did a nice job giving the fan basically this view right here. So this is a start-finish line view on their camera. You can see both cars almost there exactly the same. I would say it's clear to me the 5's there earlier, but I will also say There's a group of fans that are unhappy with how the start-finish line looks, and they should be. The paint job is not very well done. It's obviously very zigzagged and almost thicker up here on the track than it is down on the apron.
It is. And this is where we've gotten to with racing. We've had a couple of races this year decided by, 1, 2, 3 thousandths of a second. Now we're getting to the point we've got to scrutinize the edge of the line.
Yeah, and as racing gets tighter, everybody's going to have to be held more accountable, even the poor guy that maintains and repainting the line after the burnouts. But this isn't the look that NASCAR uses. This, I think, is the conversation. So post-event, NASCAR on multiple handles, even Ben Kennedy, sent this photo out. So let's explain what we're looking at, how NASCAR uses it. What you're looking at is a line scan photo. It sounds very famous.
Yeah, it's
very fancy, right?
It is, and it really, you should dig into this and look into line scan photos because it's a different technology, and this isn't a picture. This is kind of put together. It's interesting.
So NASCAR has determined that the loops and the transponders will be used to score the field for basically the entire race. The moment in time when it won't be used is any time points are paid. What that means is the top 10 finishes each stage and the overall finish of the race. So therefore, at the start-finish line and at pit out, they have these high-speed still cameras that create the photo you see here using that line scan photo technology. They also have duplicate cameras. They depend on these so much that there's multiple ones. So what we're looking at here is an instantaneous photo created the moment that the 5 car touches the start-finish line. At that point, it timestamps it, and then you're looking at multiple slices of many photos that all get put together to give you an overall look. And then as a point of reference, the red line is dropped in. That's the tip of the 5 splitter. The black line is the tip of the 17 splitter. At that moment in time, Kyle Larson is leading the 17 of Chris Buescher. How did I do? Is that overall basically what it is?
Very well done. Very well done. And part of the piece, when you say you put all these slices together to make the picture, that's why the background is kind of blurred here, because the picture is taking anything that's moving.
Right.
So the wall, the line, the racetrack, they're not moving. Those slices kind of get blurred together, but this defines where the cars are. And this is the same technology used across many different sporting events.
I think that's a point worth clarifying. This isn't a NASCAR thing. IndyCar uses it, NASCAR uses it, the Kentucky Derby uses it, the Olympics use it. Really anything that tries to determine the winner at a finish line uses this type of technology. Actually, Kyle Larson had a little fun on Twitter. I really appreciate that. He posted his picture next to the finish of the Kentucky Derby. You should check it out. He posted it, had some fun with it. So Kyle Larson posted this picture on his Twitter account. And first of all, I love that he's, hold my beer. That's a great kind of like, whatever you can do, we can do better. You're doing it at 35 miles an hour. We're going to do it at 175 miles an hour. What I want to point out is the imaging. Now, the imaging of the horse is a little bit clearer. It's the daytime photo. They're moving a little bit slower overall relative to the race cars. But the thing that's consistent is everything other than the moving objects are blurred. And that is this technology.
That's this technology because it's not a picture. It's kind of a compilation of several images of a line that come together. So like we said before, dig into line scan technology and where that is. It's interesting of the moving parts here and just how finite they can become.
The most important part of this is the finish of the race. It's not to be debated or argued. I agree that the start-finish line could be more defined. I agree with all the sentiments that I hear from the fans out there and some of the frustration, but it's clear. I actually questioned a finish for like 7th or 8th back in the late 2000s when I was Jeff Gordon's crew chief, and I was invited up into the truck. Any crew chief can question a finish, and shown this exact image of where we finished farther into the field. So this technology is used anytime that the transponder says, hey, this battle's really, really close. You should go back and confirm it by camera.
And the camera, anytime it sees motion at the start-finish line, a predetermined place that they have calibrated every day of the race event, when it sees it, it starts recording that. And that's where it comes back through. We talk about the transponders.
Yeah, let's get into that.
That's a piece that, when you look at it, the transponder it's a radio piece that
it looks like an old pager. Let's be honest.
Yes, it does.
It looks like a pager you used to wear on your belt.
And you look at it, it bolts on to this yellow piece right here. That's the bracket that holds it. It comes on, has a little clip into it.
We put this up here because this is basically the blueprint of the next-gen car. You don't get to put it wherever you want. It's specifically designed. Everybody puts it in the same spot on the Cup car.
And as you look at it, and I'll go to yellow here, but this is the rear clip. The yellow piece is a transponder bracket. The transponder bolts to it. This is the rear clip, the gray in the back. And these 4 locations, that's where the rear tire suspension bolts on. And really, that's where the rear tire is. So that transponder is just behind the left rear tire. And when you look at it going forward, that's tied to a receiving point in the racetrack that's set back from the start-finish line.
Yeah, so look. So basically the transponder is somewhere in here, right behind the rear tire. Why does that matter? Well, let's take you onto the actual racetrack itself. Let's use Kansas. This is an overhead shot. You see the start-finish line, the 1, the 20. Well, you're going to see these cuts in the asphalt.
These 2 cuts right here, and I'm not going to put it right on top of them. I'm going to go outside of them so that you can kind of see it. But that's a radio antenna. There's a cable built into it, into the racetrack, that when that transponder comes over, it picks up the signal on a transponder. When that transponder signal is at its highest density there, that's when it says it's at that point. So that's kind of how NASCAR's done this. They say, as we talked about it, this is good to like plus or minus 1.5 thousandths of a second.
Yeah.
It's a very finite piece, but when we get to the finishes we've had, this doesn't carry through to what we need.
And why this matters is a couple things. So NASCAR has determined when we're going to use loops, and that is all race long until we pay points, which is the finish of the stages or the finish of the race. We will go back to the high-speed camera. So anyone who kind of watched the race and questioned what happened, we saw the 17 of Chris Buescher's team basically celebrating. That's because the electronics, the loops, put him in front of Kyle Larson when they crossed the line. After talking to NASCAR, after talking about the plus or minus margins that's available within that technology, I can see how it happened. Now, it's unfortunate because think of that emotional roller coaster. They thought they won the race. The 5 even told Kyle Larson, we lost the race. But then shortly after, and really short, about say a minute or less, NASCAR tells Kyle Larson, you are the winner. The 17 isn't. And that's basically the difference between the electronic timing and scoring and the camera itself. That's really the point of this whole conversation is the official, just like in the Kentucky Derby, just like in the Olympics, the official is the slow motion high-speed camera.
Yeah, that's the defined point that gets the most resolution for them. The transponder helps them sort things out, but when you get within a foot or so, they have to go back to that camera to get true definition of it.
And this happens everywhere, right? So we're talking like next week at Darlington, we took a look as well. You see the loops are a little bit harder to see because there's a whole group of them. Now, I will say I love the Darlington, the nice dark asphalt with this very clear yellow line on there. I think will help the fans hopefully see another finish. Remember, this had the closest finish, that old battle between Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven until it was just Trump last weekend.
Yeah, definitely was one of those. And it'll be, from that standpoint, the fans still see the start-finish line, but when we're measuring to these levels of accuracy, there has to be something digital.
So, that wasn't enough for me. So I asked myself, what happens if we have a tie? Can we have a tie? Because in horse racing, you can have a dead heat. You can have a tie. So we went to the rule books. Shockingly enough,
there's a procedure for it.
Yeah, there is. So basically, if 2 or more vehicles have the same finishing position, which means that even using that camera, we cannot determine who's in front of one another. Basically, it's whoever leads the most number of laps in the race. If that's the same number, then it's who ran the most number of laps in second or in third. So I can assure the fan watching that no matter if we get to 0.00000, there will be a finisher. There will be a winner decided. This actually happened, Mail Like History. 1974, Buddy Baker, Cale Yarborough for third in Daytona. They couldn't decide who finished third, so it was a tie. They just split the third and fourth place points and third and fourth place money.
Yeah, not what they're going to do today. With the way it's laid out here, there's definitely a tiebreaker in place. It doesn't matter where it gets to, but they've got a process going forward.
Hey, we kick off the playoffs on NBC in Atlanta, so there's absolutely a chance in the playoffs we could have another photo finish. Well, listen, while the hard racing and the close finish, the photo finish dominated the conversation, there still was some strategy at the end. 2 or 4 tires, what to take for the overtime finish. We'll discuss that next.
I'm Ryan Flores. Join Kim Kuhn and myself each and every week at Around the Track. We'll get you ready for the upcoming race weekends from short tracks to the Cup Series, whether you'll be attending in person or watching from home.
Coming your way each week is the best bets to win some easy money and driver suggestions to help pump up your fantasy lineups. Around the Track also tells you what to watch for in the NASCAR Regional Series and which young phenom drivers to keep your eye on.
Plus, our At Traction segment gives you all of the fan activities, concerts, and tailgating fun at the track. Be sure to check out Around the Track each and every Wednesday on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
Well, one reason why I love doing television. Late caution. I know you love doing radio for the same reason. Decision time. 2 tires, 4 tires stay out. Do you pit? What do you do? I'll be honest. I raised my hand on a text thread I was on. It was clear to me 4 tires.
That was what I gave Jeff Striegel when he asked me the question as I'm on the MRN booth up there at Kansas. I felt like 4 tires. We were a full fuel run into tires here. I know it was only going to be a green-white checker, but I felt like 4 was going to be the right call. But you've seen this migration to being aggressive on 2 tires. We had 9 guys take 2.
So I thought for sure 4 tires was the call. Then they roll off pit road, and I was for sure that 4 tires didn't have a chance. And then the 19 of Truex, let's take a look at him. So he's the first car on 4 tires. He's lined up in the 10th position. We're on board with the 19. An amazing job by Truex. I actually thought he had a chance to win just after turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, I was caught looking at the race at the front to see where that all sorted out. When we came to the white flag and saw where the 19 was, like, whoa. The run he made around the top, got out the side of Alex Bowman there, and it opens up again here, right to the bottom. That got him where he could see the leader.
He could see the leader, and he sees the leader pushing and shoving and battling. And in my mind, for the 19, his chance to win the race was right here on the front stretch. He needed to be clear into turn 1 to be able to use the whole racetrack. And as you see him chase the 5 car down into turn 1 to the right side of the 19, you're going to see the issue, which is there are still more cars. Now, he does a great job right here. The 11 lifts to his right side. 11 disappears. The 19 slides, inches in front of the 9.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And when he was into turn 1 there, he was 3 wide with the 11 and 9. He got by the 9. 9 crossed him back over and got to the bottom. I think that inevitably broke some momentum for him. He's still in a position right here. I think he could be the winner.
So I pause it here because I agree. He still has a chance to win this race. We talk a lot about dirty air. Well, the only thing worse than dirty air if 1 car is 2 cars.
Yes.
And that's what he's going to cross. So watch this 19 as he slides up. He's going to go. He's wide open. He's using every bit of it. He's thinking the outside of the 5. He gets really tight, actually even makes contact with the wall, loses his momentum. At the same time, the opening kind of happens in front of him. The 9 comes back. A couple more guys take 4 tires. The 19 restarts 8th or 6th.
Yes.
I really think 4 tires wins the race.
I thought so, but the racing has become, the calls have become more aggressive. The 2 tire calls, I was surprised. I thought there'd be a handful. I didn't think there'd be 9. And when he came off there, James Small was on the radio kind of apologizing to him. The same thing. Didn't think there'd be that many on 2, but he made 4 work.
The driver that brought out the yellow, Kyle Busch, comes and takes 4 tires. And there's so much to cover in a race. Everything can't be covered. But I think it's really important to just take a minute and watch this amazing run from the 8 of Kyle Busch. He is going to restart in the 21st position. He's going to finish 8th. And, we all know Kyle Busch is great. And his resume about wins and all that will always be touted. But it's restarts like this at times that I'm not sure Kyle gets enough credit for. He is all the way back inside row 11, and there's going to be a lot of near misses and a lot of great decisions. Ends up 8th. Let's relive the green-white checker from on board the 8th.
Yeah, there's a lot of commitment here to places that you just got to cringe. But he made a great run up through here, got where cars weren't, followed Brad Keselowski here for a little bit, and then made some great moves.
Yeah, look at the great decision. So I'm going to follow Brad, right? He's the veteran, another champion in the sport, through the middle, trying to get the air that he can get. Just misses the 14 to the outside, stays wide open. So easy to lift in that situation, or easy to get collected into a wreck. Now he has almost the same thing again. He gets to the outside of the 47. Stenhouse has to get out of the gas. Momentum still forward.
Yeah, a 12 car gets up in front of him here, but the dog leg opens the top back up for him. He gets the outside of the 12, I think, through 1 and 2, and passes a bunch more here.
So easy to lose momentum. Kyle Busch continues to gain momentum, goes all the way to the top, jumps in the gas to get to the outside of the 12, and that works because that's going to allow him to kind of cross over to the left side of the 34 of McDowell, who had a great run, the 10 of Noah Gragson. And now you mentioned how you thought the 17 was going to try to win the race. That's what the 8 does here, coming to the line on the 10.
Yeah, he went down, slides up, actually kind of gets up there, stacks the air on the 10 car, releases him, comes to the bottom, gets himself an 8th place finish.
A great run by the 8 car to recover. Rarely do you see him spin out by himself, but that's what brought out the final caution. But 21st to 8th, that's a lot of points for a team that's looking to gain those points and make their way into the playoffs.
And building momentum. They've had some good runs here lately, kind of putting things together. Kyle was a factor in the top 10 all day long.
Well, you mentioned building momentum. We'll see if the momentum continues. Kyle runs great there. The Cup Series heads to Darlington. Mother's Day race this Sunday. Check it out, 3 p.m. on FS1.